America's an unbelievably resilient place.
This week, a rare sit-down with the most powerful banker in America.
Kill bureaucracy, it's a mindset.
For more than 20 years, Jamie Dimon has led JPMorgan Chase, the country's top bank. His words can move markets.
It will cause a little inflation.
And influence presidents to change policies.
What's your message for him now?
Keep doing what you're doing.
This week, we join him exclusively in Pacific Palisades.
Hi, I'm Elex Michaelson.
Alex,
I'm interviewing
yes,
you.
I know you.
To talk fire recovery, Trump's tariffs, the future of Hollywood, and how to lead.
Management, it's a bitch, but you got to get out there and you got to do it. You got to know the detail.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
Welcome to a special edition of The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson, reporting this week from Pacific Palisades, where Chase and so many others are working to rebuild the community. This right here used to be a JPMorgan Chase branch, and today, for the first time, the leader of this bank came to visit.
Dimon gets a tour of the area from his longtime friend Rick Caruso, businessman, former and potentially future candidate for LA mayor. They greet employees of the Palisades branch. This is what that branch used to look like before it burned to the ground on January 7th in the Palisades Fire. Dimon pauses to take a picture of what's left behind. Fire also devastated Altadena that night in January. Early February, Chase was the first major retailer to reopen in the area. They developed mobile ATMs to serve the entire community with no fees and donated millions to help with the recovery efforts. As the work to rebuild the Palisades speeds up outside, we sat down with Dimon inside at the future home of the Palisades branch, expected to open within a year.
Jamie Dimon, welcome to The Issue Is for the very first time. Thanks so much.
Alex, thrilled to be here.
And welcome to Southern California. I know it's your first time in the Palisades since the fires. What goes through your mind when you look out?
Yeah. So the reason we're here is to come look at the Palisades, look at our branch, thank our people here, understand the issue a little bit better, thank our people for what they did. We did a town hall this morning. It's devastation, and we want to be part of rebuilding it. You learn what's going on. I think it needs a lot more work and a lot more help quickly, and it's amazing how some parts survived, and it seems so random in certain parts of it. And so my heart goes out to the people, and I want to thank the folks at JPMorgan Chase who are helping in the rebuilding effort.
What is your message to the people here?
Well, we'll have hope. First of all, you're getting a lot of support. I mean, our hearts go out to you, but I think that all of America, when they saw what happened here, there are a lot of people working. Rick Caruso is a friend of mine who I trust and respect, and he has his own, he's starting to rebuild and help people rebuild from the churches to the parks to his own properties. It'll come back, and it'll come back stronger than ever, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
In the state of California, JPMorgan Chase has more than 16,000 employees, 13 million customers, and are number one in 22 markets, including Los Angeles.
How do you think the bank can help California rebuild?
Yeah. So the bank has been here. We're now the number one bank, and I'm quite proud of it because we were not until we bought WAMA. We've been building branches and all over California. Now we're in retail bank, private bank, commercial bank. I mean, I got a number before I came here. We've lent in the state of California over the last 5 years close to $1 trillion.
Wow.
And that's a big number. But remember, that's not just big businesses. That's mortgages, affordable. We're probably the largest affordable housing lender in the country. It's small business. It's cities, schools, states, hospitals. So we have some of our top bankers here. We'll be looking at some of the things we can help finance here and help deal with the problems.
We're going to have a continued, maybe a better relationship than ever before.
We speak with Dimon shortly after President Trump announces a trade deal with Great Britain, the first deal of its kind since he introduced the idea of reciprocal tariffs.
Your thoughts on that?
I am very happy it took place. I mean, I think the tariff stuff it was very big and very large, and everybody all at once. I think it's very important that they start to show progress in the deal. So any progress is good. These are deals in principle, so it's not really a deal. A real trade deal would be 10 or 20,000 pages long, but any progress is good. And if they can do the UK, and we got Japan and Taiwan and South Korea, the EU, which could be a little more complicated, and I'm glad they're talking to China. So I'm glad they did it. I don't think it's going to stop all the consternation about tariffs.
In terms of talking to China, that's supposed to happen this weekend in Switzerland with the Treasury Secretary. What are your expectations for that? What do you think a deal with China should look like?
Yeah, I don't really have high expectations for the first talk. I think usually The Chinese are very patient. It'll probably be more about parameters. I think if they do something, that would be great. And I think that'd be great for both countries or something like that. But I think the first thing that America should do, these things get mixed up. America should do what protects their national security. That's unilateral. It's got nothing to do with trade. And think of secure supply chains for penicillin, which we get 100% from China, medical ingredients, which we get like 80, 90%, rare earths. Rare earths are not rare. They're everywhere, but they have the biggest and cheapest production. So if you're going to buy them, you're going to buy them in China. That's like 80 and 90%. Well, obviously we need it to be somewhere else. Then there's things like AI, semiconductor chips, things which can help their military, which is perfectly reasonable for us not to want to help. Then there's like talk about unfair trade. I would focus on strategic unfair trade. I wouldn't worry that much about furniture and clothes and sneakers and things like that. And so I hope they get to it and then have these serious conversations, and where it's unfair to fix it, and then hopefully have a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you've said before, we don't need to fear China. We just need to get our act together.
That's correct.
and
but Americans should understand, America is the most prosperous nation on the planet. Our GDP per person is $85,000. Theirs is 15. We actually have wonderful neighbors in Canada and Mexico. We haven't been in a war with a neighbor since 1848. They have a very complex world. They don't have enough food, war, and energy. We have all the food, war, and energy we'll ever need. They import 10 million barrels a day of oil. A lot of that oil goes by American warships in the Sea of Hormuz or the Straits. And so I think Americans should take a deep breath in this one. But yeah, we should negotiate what's fair and protects us.
Do you think that this overall approach to tariffs by President Trump makes sense?
I thought it was too large, too big, and too aggressive when it started. It was a part of a master plan to get people to the table. But it's very important for your viewership. It's okay to say if it's unfair, we want to fix it. How you go about it, you can do it publicly, do it privately, you can start with national security. I just hope they accomplish it. I think it caused a lot of consternation. If you walk up and down the street and talk to a lot of small businesses, they have no idea how it's going to affect their cost of goods. And it's not just they get them all from China, but they're stealing inputs to that. There's all these inputs, and they want to survive. So I think to reduce the uncertainty that was created is a good thing to do. Well, and I'm glad they're responsive to that. They have been, I'm glad. And I'm glad that the trade agenda was handed to Scott Bessent. I think he's capable and competent, trying to figure these things out and try to do the right stuff.
Today, American industry was reborn.
In this interview with Maria Bartiromo in April, Dimon had publicly criticized President Trump's tariffs plan.
Of course, when they put the tariffs in, it was way beyond what people expected. That will cause a little inflation.
And the president changed his policy just after that interview aired.
People were getting a little queasy.
You think that he basically, do you claim credit for that?
I don't. He did watch it because he said so.
Yeah.
And I think he talks to a lot of people, and that I was just one voice among many about what to do next. And if it helped that, it's great.
So then if he's clearly listening to what you have to say, what's your message for him now?
Keep doing what you're doing. Now focus, when I look at it, the border's been successful, okay? And after you eliminate the criminal element, I would try to work on real immigration reform, which allows, we need seasonal workers, we need a path to citizenship for some of the undocumented but law-abiding immigrants, we need DACA, we need more merit-based, which I've heard him say all these things personally, by the way. So, but once you have that border security, the American public probably would, he could be the immigration president. We've been arguing about this stuff for 40 or 50 years, and it's been a huge mistake. And so, he's been pro-business and pro-deregulation and getting this tax reform. Those things could be very good for the growth of the American economy. I would focus on that. There are a lot of other distractions that take place in this administration. Focus that on those goals, and the tariffs just make progress now. Country by country, tariff by tariff.
Do you talk to him much privately?
I do not. I would help any way I can my government, whoever is the President of the United States. I talk to a lot of his staff, so hopefully have a very good relationship with most of them. And if I can be helpful with some, I'll call them up or go see them, and they come to visit some of the groups I'm part of, like the Business Roundtable or the Bank Policy Institute.
On the tariff front, as you mentioned, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty from average people, your customers, some of those 18 million customers here who aren't talking to the president regularly. How does this affect the average person's life? What should they expect in the coming months?
Yeah, I think in the short run, you'll probably see a little bit more inflation and a slowing economy. That's what our economists say. I would guess that's going to be true just because of the uncertainty. And you haven't seen the uncertainty in real numbers yet. You see it in surveys. Customer sentiment's down, business sentiment's down, what people say they're going to do is down. But hard numbers like unemployment, actual investment, I think you may see those start to slow down too. Hopefully it'll just be a very mild thing. But if we have a short-term recession, we'll get through that and hopefully get back on a growth curve.
I mean,
but to me, the most important thing, America for the world is the indispensable nation. If there's no American leadership in the world, you will have a fragmented world. The Chinese and the Russians want to dismantle that world economically. And if you have economic fragmentation, what will happen is all of our allies, every nation will have to sit back and say, what protects my people economically and militarily, and it may not be what we like. So that to me is the most important thing. What's the long-term strategic objective we're trying to accomplish here?
Up next, Jamie Dimon on the future of entertainment and his own acting dreams.
You need me on that wall.
What do you think when you see that?
We continue our conversation with JPMorganChaseCEO Jamie Dimon in Pacific Palisades, where work is being done to rebuild a branch that burned down in the California wildfires. The bank says California accounted for more than 17% of the firm's revenue in 2024, totaling $20.8 billion, which is a 10% increase from 2023.
What does California mean to your company?
Yeah. First, we love California. I mean, when I come to California, you have a beautiful state and beautiful weather and beautiful food and the technology and all these wonderful things. So it's a critical part. We've doubled down on California. Like, we've started this innovation economy. My partner here, Doug Petno, is here, been running that part of it. We've hired 500 bankers to cover the innovation. So think of big tech, but now we're also talking about old tech. So the venture capital companies, their portfolio companies, their founders, with specialty in healthcare and food and consumer, and you have unbelievable universities here. So the strengths are enormous. Having said that, every city and every state should not assume it has divine right to success and should look at what it does well and what it doesn't do well so you can make it work better. And so there are flaws here that need to be fixed. Not driving out businesses, and hopefully the government will focus on that here.
I mean, what do you think are some of those flaws? What lessons do you think the state could learn from business?
I changed the name of red tape to blue tape because it's the Democrats who seem to want more and more regulations. We need good regulations. We need good food. We need good financial system. We need good. It's just not more, and more. And you see it in everything, permitting and licensing, and there are lessons to be learned. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should be saying, I want an efficient government. And you also have a lot of governments who they have never run anything. So our government, the American people, Democrats, Republicans, don't think our government is efficient and competent. It's too abusive in some places, telling you what to do and what to think, and other places it can't get things done. We've been talking about fixing the FAA, the people who do the air controls, for 40 years.
Yes,
our system is 50 years old. It's floppy disks. It's not the modern technologies which would save lives, save CO2, reduce accidents, reduce wait times. Why don't we do things like that? And we're crippled, instead of being the can-do nation. So, yeah, I have deep frustration with that, and I think we need people and jobs. Like even the Palisades, if you want to get this built, you need. I would have a Palisades rebuilding building with everyone in the room. Literally, I have it right here. I have sanitation, fire, police, roads, insurance, local, state, federal government in the room with charts. What are the problems? Because it's a huge management problem, and government doesn't put top people who can run projects into management. It's too often politicians or academics who've never run anything, and and that's a real problem. So hopefully we'll fix that too.
One of our biggest industries, obviously, is the film industry, which is also a huge industry for you all. 90% of debt for the entire film industry is financed by you, which is amazing.
Yeah, we have to make sure they're successful.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like the film industry is really at an inflection point right now. Where do you think it should go?
Yeah, I don't know. Last night I had dinner with a lot of studio heads at Amblin Studios, and it was really fun, and they're really smart. And from my vantage point, look at the content that gets produced. It's extraordinary. So I look at the other way around. So maybe the things are changing, and also the use of technology is extraordinary. But I did get up before I spoke to them a little bit yesterday, and I did auditioning for them saying, "You need me on that wall."
You can't handle the truth. You need me on that wall.
So I'm hoping that one day I'll get a little teeny part in one of their.
You've never gotten a cameo in anything?
No, I want a cameo.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You're overdue for a cameo.
We're making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed.
One of the things the president was talking about this week is tariffs in terms of the film industry, or potentially putting a tariff for people that film outside of the country. What do you think of that? A good idea? Bad idea?
Honestly, I heard about it yesterday, and even last night, people are trying to understand what it means. So I just don't know.
As a concept, do you like that as a concept?
Not generally.
Yeah.
I think the film industry does a great job, and they film around the world. But I haven't seen the numbers about how many films are being done elsewhere, how many are being done here. I just don't know. I would have to do a deeper study to have a real opinion about that.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
I'm going to tell you The Longest Day, because I'm so proud to be an American.
I love that.
Or Saving Private Ryan.
That's
I
another.
mean, these films are just, they hit me like.
I love that.
Up next, Jamie Dimon on why so many businesses fail and how you can avoid those mistakes.
We're talking with Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JPMorgan Chase. You have a management philosophy, or one of your edicts you've talked about is that complacency, arrogance, bureaucracy, and BS kills companies.
Yes.
So how do you stop that from happening?
So you go to YouTube, I put this whole thing up.
Killing complacency, arrogance, bureaucracy.
People say to me, why do you push so hard at these things when we're doing so well? And here's why. Ready? Sears, Kmart, A&P, Digital Equipment, Kodak, and I can go on and on and on. In each case, these were great companies. Complacency, arrogance, bureaucracy, management that doesn't get on the road, doesn't wake up every day and put in the jersey and give it their all. That's why they fail. And I really do mean that. And so I think managements have to be fully invested. They have to understand their company. They should own the stock. They should get on the road. They should talk to clients. They should talk to their people. Even if we did a town hall this morning, and we got 2 great ideas out of it. So we've already delegated so if they're good, they would have fixed it by now. I'm sure they may have called it in. But that's what you learn. I can go to a branch today. I can ask our branch people here today what we can do better and get ideas that then we can disseminate to 80 million, 5,000 branches, 80 million clients. So yeah, management, it's a bitch, but you got to get out there and you got to do it. You got to know the detail. Every small business person knows exactly what I'm talking about. Every employee, every plate of food they serve, every, getting the vendor supply, getting things in place, having a team that works. You probably have favorite restaurants. You go there because not only is the food good, but the waiters and
people,
right. they got your drink ready when you get there. Exactly. It's no different for a big company, and it's hard. It's hard work, but once you let that slip, you'll be a goner.
A couple decades into this job now and dominating this space, what gives you the fuel? What gets you most excited?
I don't totally know, but I think when I can't give my all, I should pass on the baton or something like that. But look, I grew up, my grandparents were Greek immigrants, and then you get these values from, you don't even know you're getting them, and they're not that different than values that you have and other people. Have a purpose. That purpose could be building a company, being a great reporter, being a teacher, being a mother, being an artist. It doesn't have to be what I want for you. Do the best you can. Treat everyone with respect, and try to leave the world better than you found it. That's my purpose, and this is my platform, to do JPMorgan. We bank cities, schools, states, hospitals, individuals, 100 countries. Next week I'm going to Paris and London, going to China after that. We try to be the best we can while we're very patriotic, and so and we can disseminate best practices. And so this is a fabulous platform. I love doing it, and hopefully I'll be successful for a bit longer.
Up next, what's Dimon like away from work? He plays our personal issues game and talks about his role models.
We wrap things up with something called personal issues. These are rapid fire things to get to know you a little bit better. Who is Jamie Dimon, the man? All right, so you ready? We talked about your favorite movie already. What's your favorite TV show?
Ted Lasso.
Oh, great choice. Who's your favorite sports team?
Well, the Yankees, of course.
I knew that was coming.
And
well done in the World Series last year.
And when I was a kid, the Mets weren't there. So and for my generation, to go from the Yankees to the Mets, you were a traitor.
Okay. Yeah, who's your all-time favorite athlete?
Well, it was Mickey Mantle for the same reason,
favorite musician or band?
I love so many of them, but Bruce Springsteen, Elton John, Rolling Stones, I grew up listening to Vivaldi and Bach, so I like just about everything.
You run the gamut. Love it. What is your favorite Broadway musical of all time?
My mother used to take me to off-Broadway, Rodgers and Hammerstein singing plays, and Oliver was probably the first one I ever went to.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there we go. I heard that you guys...
Where is love?
Oh, we're getting singing now. Yeah. Okay. I heard that you guys... I thought you were going to say Hamilton. I heard you guys have the original guns.
We do.
The guns used in the duel. Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton.
The actual guns are used in the duel. When I first got to JPMorgan, I asked, what are they worth? And they said $1 million. They're insured for $1 million. I was sitting at my desk late one night, and I got a phone call from the guy who ran Sotheby's. He said, by the way, I know you have the guns. I said, oh, what do you think they're worth? $30 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
You still got it.
That's probably worth a lot more today.
And lastly, you're so many people's role model in business. Who is your role model?
It would probably not be business. It would probably be, Abe Lincoln. When I think he's such an extraordinary human being. And then there are people like Nelson Mandela, who somehow was 27 years in prison and tortured, but came out magnanimous and wanted to save his country from what everyone thought would be civil war. And so I love to read history. George Marshall.
And as we say goodbye and we look out at this city as rebuilding is starting, what gives you hope? What's your sort of final message for people?
Driving through here and seeing the devastation, you also saw the homes that survived. You saw the trees miraculously that are blooming, and you're going to come back, and hopefully you get all the help you need, not just locally, but from the federal government. America's an unbelievably resilient place. I wish we were a little more competent, but it's unbelievably resilient. We will recover and grow and get better.
With a lot of help from you guys. Thank you so much for the time.
Alex, thank you.
Thanks for the master class.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Really
I appreciate it.
it.